Lesson 12, decimal numbers. So we are going to glue into your reference pages, not right now, but when we're done with notes, this decimal place values chart looks like this. I wanted to make a note in your notes that at the decimal point, I think I copied the wrong one. No, I didn't. Where is the decimal point? Oh, right here. Actually, can you write in there a decimal point? There we go. So at the decimal point, it will be, you have to say the word and. So as you're reading a number, let's write, as you are reading a number, when you get to the decimal point, say, in quotes, and. And that's why when we have numbers bigger than 100, say like 150, that's why we don't say 150, because the and actually means there's a decimal point right there. So we're going to do some practice just saying some of the numbers. So we have verbal practice. We're just going to write that right there. And we're going to start with this number right here. So in order to read this number, we say the number on the left, which is 12. Then we have a decimal point. So we just say and. Then we look at the number past the decimal point as if there was nothing before it. And that's a 5. So we just say 5. And then the next word we say is the place value where the 5 is. Now the 5 is 2 over, which is the hundredths. So we'll just say hundredths. So to read this number, it's 12 and 5 hundredths. Another one. So we don't have to say 0 and. If there's nothing here, we don't have to say it at all. We just read the number that's to the left of the decimal as if there were no decimal. So this is 125. So we would say 125. Don't forget the number 25 has a hyphen in it. And then we say the place value of the very last digit, which is thousandths. So this is 125 thousandths. And then one more. There's a 0 on the left, so we don't have to say the 0 at all. We just say 5. And then the place value where 5 is tenths. So we're going to talk about ordering and comparing. So ordering and compare. Number 1, the first thing you want to do when you have a list of numbers to order or compare is to align the decimal points. The second thing to do is compare place values from left to right. So let's do an example where we're asked to order. So order least to greatest. And I promise you, in this book, they're going to say order least to greatest the majority of the time. I think 2, maybe 3 times they try and trick you and say order greatest to least. So be really careful when you're reading those order problems that you know what order they want you to put it in. Okay, so we're going to order these numbers least to greatest. 5 tenths, 41 hundredths, 5 hundredths, and 405 thousandths. So we're going to list them with all the decimal points lined up. So if we are looking from left to right, the first digit is 0, so they're all the same. And then we come over the next one, the 0 is the smallest. So this would be the very first number we would write. Then we look at the next smaller one in this place value is a 4. So we have to compare these two. And we look at the next number. Since this one's a 0, smaller than a 1, then this number would be the second one, and this would be the third, and 5/10 would be the very last one. So we would list them as 500ths, 405 thousandths, 41/10ths, and 4100ths and 5/10ths. So sometimes we're given decimal numbers and asked to write as a fraction. And we're going to give some examples here. If I had 2.8 or 2, you want to say, like read the word the way you're supposed to. So I always say read it correctly. So we don't say 2.8, we say 2 and 8/10. Once you read it correctly, you can see it as a mixed number hopefully in your head, 2 and 8/10. So then just write what you just said, 2 and 8/10. And then you can reduce if it's a fraction, which would be 2, in this case, 4/5, 2 and 4/5. One more example, if we want to write this as a fraction, you would need to say 75 hundredths. And then just write what you said, 75 hundredths, and reduce to 3/4. And that's the end of the lesson.